Direct Connection is made by MPT to serve all of our diverse communities and is made possible by the generous support of our members. Thank you. Live from Maryland Public Television, this is Direct Connection with Jeff Salkin.
Good evening. Welcome to Direct Connection. Tonight we begin with the latest on the Omicron wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. Again today, new records set for the number of Marylanders in the hospital. Joining us tonight to answer your questions is Dr. David Marcosi. He is the incident commander for the University of Maryland Medical System and professor of emergency medicine at the University of Maryland School of Medicine. Dr. Marcosi, thank you for being with us again. What's the situation in your group of hospitals tonight?
Jeff, good to see you. Happy New Year. So our system hospitals are under significant strain as a result of COVID-19. In fact, 6 of our hospitals, Jeff, needed to move to crisis standards of care protocols, which means that they needed to modify their care delivery inside their hospitals to address the surges of patients coming through their doors.
Of the patients that are coming through the door, how many would you say are breakthrough cases? Most of our viewers, most people in the state have been vaccinated. They may not have gotten the booster shot at this point, but how many of them are getting sick along with the unvaccinated?
The overwhelming majority of people who are ill from COVID-19, in fact, in our system, it's about 75% of are either unvaccinated or undervaccinated. And we're defining fully protected as 3 shots if you've had the mRNA vaccines, which are Pfizer or Moderna, or 2 shots if you had the J&J. So a J&J plus another shot, so that booster would be needed. That's to get you fully protected. And 75% of our people in the hospital right now are either underprotected, in other words, undervaccinated, or have chosen not to be vaccinated.
And, you know, we wish the vaccines were perfect. They may have been with earlier variants of this, but it's still pretty clear that being vaccinated, being boosted improves your odds of staying out of the hospital or having a bad outcome by, tenfold or something like that.
There is absolutely no question, in my view, that these vaccines are working and they're designed to actually protect us from severe illness or death. And they're doing just that. They are protecting us from becoming hospitalized, and that's what the data shows. One important thing that we need to recognize is, although they are protecting us from serious illness and death, you can still transmit this virus. So you're almost like a carrier for COVID-19 and still transmit it to someone else who's vulnerable. And that's why you're seeing, not only do we think through vaccinations, but masking is still essential.
All right, let's get this, talk about this from a viewer's perspective. If somebody is feeling ill, they think they have a cold, say they're vaccinated, what are the odds at this point that it is COVID, or maybe it's the flu, or maybe it's a cold, and how do you know?
I'm glad you brought up the flu. So number one, please, I'm talking about COVID-19 vaccinations, but please get your flu shot. It's an annual shot, and you can get COVID and flu vaccinations at the same time. That's number one. Number two, there is the predominance of illness right now in our communities is COVID-19. And the real reason for that is this virus is spreading so easily between us. It's overwhelming any and all other viruses that are out there. We still are seeing a little bit of flu. We're still seeing a little bit of other viruses, but predominantly it's all COVID-19.
Let me remind our viewers, if you have a question for the doctor, give us a call at the number on the screen, or you can email us. Send your email to livequestions@mpt.org. Doctor, how's this affecting the medical staff? You mentioned crisis standards of care at certain institutions. We know Omicron spreads way more easily, evades barriers like cloth masks and distancing better than the previous variants. So even people at the hospital, working at the hospital, who I'm sure are almost entirely vaccinated and boosted, are probably coming down with this.
So first of all, let me just say that our healthcare workers are exhausted. They're frustrated and they're exhausted. And many are still leaving, many are leaving the profession as a result of that. And we have the ability to help them stay on shift, help them come to work and make sure that they're taking care of taking care of people the right way and for the right reasons. We have a lot of people who are in the healthcare community who are not only frustrated and fatigued, but are also coming down with COVID-19 because this is transmitting in our communities. So Jeff, not only do we have our workforce, our nurses, doctors, respiratory therapists, pharmacists who are frustrated and fatigued, but they're also potentially some suffering from COVID-19 being exposed. And on top of that, we have a surge of patients that need to be treated for COVID-19. So it's really a perfect storm.
Email question here from a viewer that I'm not sure I totally understand, but what is breakout, I think breakthrough, of versus under vaccinated among their COVID patients?
So I guess I'm going to assume they're asking about COVID-19 breakthrough infections. And what happens is that the vaccine that we're getting protects us from becoming ill. In other words, produces antibodies. So if we get exposed to the virus, we have antibodies that actually fight back against becoming sick and dying. However, it doesn't mean necessarily that you can't be exposed to this virus, be carrying it in your nose or your mouth and not become ill, or maybe become mildly ill, or maybe not even feel anything, but still be exposing other people to this virus as you talk, as you cough, as you sneeze. And that's what a breakthrough infection is. It's almost like you're a carrier for this virus, not sick, but carrying it and exposing others for when you're either singing or talking or coughing or sneezing.
Yeah, there's so many permutations of this. Does somebody have Delta? Do they have Omicron? Are they vaccinated with J&J and they got a booster? Which one was it? Did they get, Moderna or Pfizer or something else? It would be quite a matrix. So let me get to a phone call. Fauquier County, Virginia. This is David. David, thank you for calling. Go ahead. David, what's your question?
Well, I've just been not understanding the science in the testing taking place. Is that usually, tests are done in varying locations and that they look for pockets of infections. Instead, all the testing appears to be at usually the same site, usually for people the same demographics, but they're not going to congregations of people in different walks of life and arbitrarily testing for pockets, and then they can treat that area.
David, interesting question. Thank you very much. Doctor, your thoughts on the current testing regime and also the home tests, which are very hard to find at the moment and may not pick this thing up that well anyway.
Yeah, so first let me speak to the phone call. I think, Dave, you ask a good question about, are we picking up everything we need to? Are we identifying everyone who might have this? Are there pockets that may be hidden from us in testing? And Dave, you're right. There is likely a lot of individuals who are carrying this virus but are asymptomatic, and they may not even feel as though they need to be tested. I get myself tested with some regularity just to make sure I'm not one of those asymptomatic carriers. On the topic of testing, there are two really fundamental types of tests that we're using and talking about a lot. The first is these rapid tests, and Jeff, you mentioned it, I think, at-home tests. And those are the ones you kind of take a nasal swab, you take it at home, you either put it in a sleeve or you put some drops. And those rapid tests are testing to assure that if you have the antigen, that it's going to pick it up. There are some challenges with some of the antigen tests, and they're being asked whether or not those antigen tests are all picking up Omicron. So make sure you ask that question. Is this antigen test picking up Omicron? The second type of test is what's called PCR. PCR detects small amounts of the virus itself, either way early on when you're exposed, or potentially even way later when you're no longer even symptomatic and you're carrying viral particles in your upper airway, but really they're not making you sick at all. It's positive from the very beginning to the very end of your potential infection, when you may not even be transmitting this virus because they're so small amounts. But one is incredibly sensitive, but takes time to turn around. PCR, usually you get back our PCR tests in about a day or 2 days. But the rapid tests are all done within, 15 to 30 minutes. So from my standpoint, both are useful. We just need to understand why we would use them.
What's happening with kids? We're seeing the state data website now breaks out how many pediatric patients, how many pediatric ICU patients, a little bit of question really on all populations. How many people are in the hospital with COVID as opposed to being in the hospital because of COVID? Just broadly, what's happening with kids, the pediatric population?
Yeah, so two lines of questioning there, Jeff. I want to make sure I hit both of them. The first is around children. Fortunately, right now, we are not seeing a significant surge of children, at least in the University of Maryland medical system. There are children who are becoming significantly ill, hospitalized, and even into our intensive care unit with COVID-19. So it is not a benign virus to children, which is why it's important to get children vaccinated. But we are not seeing right now the surge of patients we're not seeing a surge of children who are patients into our system, number one. Number two, on the question that is coming up now on, are they admitted for some other problem and they're also incidentally COVID-19? It is a very good question, and I want to try and describe what appropriately what we know from a science standpoint and what we know from the data from our system. Number one, overwhelmingly admissions are COVID positive. And we are finding that many of those individuals, particularly who are under vaccinated, are coming in with COVID-19 symptoms, short of breath, chest pain, oxygen saturations that are low, all of the symptoms that are typical for significant COVID infection, and they're usually needed to come into the hospital, and they usually, if they're unvaccinated, have to unfortunately be admitted to our intensive care unit. We are also having individuals that come in for an ankle fracture that are COVID positive. It doesn't mean that the resource demand isn't there. We still need to put on all our PPE, go and treat them appropriately for their ankle fracture, but they are incidentally COVID positive. Right now, our data looks to be around, now there's got to be some guidelines or some rough, this is rough data, around 70 to 80% of our patients still being admitted to our hospitals are COVID positive and symptomatic. In other words, demonstrating symptoms from COVID-19. But Jeff, here's a question. If you are short of breath and you trip and fall down the stairs because you can't catch your breath, are you being admitted for COVID-19 or are you being admitted for an ankle fracture? So I want to be careful in how we're interpreting our data because each side will look at this differently. But all I want to say is from an on-the-ground perspective of treating patients, they're COVID-19 and they have an ankle fracture. And that's where we are today in treating our patients in our emergency departments.
Let's get one more phone call from Howard County. This is Sandy. Sandy, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hi. How many of those who are hospitalized and dying are immunosuppressed or cancer patients? Even though they've been vaccinated, they have less immunity, is my understanding. How many of your population of hospitalized and dying are those?
Sandy, thank you. Doctor?
Yeah, Sandy, I'm so glad you asked this question, and we made sure we took a pause here to talk about the higher vulnerability patients who are cancer patients, HIV patients, chemotherapy. You have patients who have lupus or COPD or are on steroids. And those patients can't mount an appropriate response when they're getting the vaccine or can't mount it as strong as someone would who didn't have some of those potential ailments and medical conditions. And to that end, those individuals, we're certainly seeing a significant portion of those who are medically vulnerable, who have some comorbidities, which is the medical term for any of those other potential medical problems. We're seeing a significant number of them, even though they're vaccinated, still having to be hospitalized. Now, I will also let you know this. If they are fully protected with a booster shot, they are much less frequently hospitalized than people who are not vaccinated and have significant comorbidities. Those individuals are absolutely becoming more ill due to COVID-19. But
Doctor, I'm going to jump in for a second just because I'm short on time. I've got 10 seconds for this. We've talked about how hospitals are jammed, but if anybody's watching, they are short of breath. You need to see a doctor. You want people to come in.
No question about it. If you need emergency care, the hospital doors are open. So you need to make sure you get to an emergency department if you're having an emergency.
Dr. David Marcosi, Universities of Maryland Medical System, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Jeff, stay well. Thanks, everybody. Have a good New Year.
Now, motorists were stranded on a 50-mile stretch of I-95 in Virginia last week, many for more than 24 hours, many without provisions. You can see just how gridlocked it was in this footage from WJLA TV. We got some advice on preparing for winter driving from AAA's Regina Ali. Regina, this was an epic traffic jam. Your call center must have been getting constant calls.
Yes, just like they were very busy on the roadways there in Virginia, we were busy at AAA as well. In the 48-hour period when all of this was going on, we received probably about 3,500 calls for service in the DMV area.
And your drivers are great, but there's probably not much they can do in a situation like this where you have long stretches of highway covered in snow and ice, jackknife tractor trailers, so just nobody can get in or out, right?
That is exactly what happened. No one could get in and out. We, again, had AAA drivers going out to those destinations until they couldn't. And once it was gridlocked and no one was moving, no one was moving. So
and these people, I was going to say they may have expected when this hit that they were going to be out there for a half an hour or 45 minutes or an hour, but this was a day, and most people aren't ready for that.
You are so right. Unfortunately, this was sort of one of those events where everything that could go wrong sort of did. Obviously, VDOT was unable to pre-treat the roads because the storm started out as rain. And then before you knew it, there was snow, there was ice, there were jackknife tractor trailers. And unfortunately, as you said, motorists really never expect to be stuck in traffic or stuck on the roadways as long as they were, but that is exactly what we saw happen. And unfortunately, it has given us at AAA the opportunity to remind motorists why it's so important to have an emergency kit in their vehicle. And AAA research has shown that 40% of motorists, more than 40% of motorists, do not have one. So imagine being stuck out there for hours and hours with no extra blankets, nothing additional to keep you warm, nothing to snack on. It was a very bad situation, obviously, for many, many motorists last week.
But before we get into what ought to be in an emergency kit, people obviously didn't expect to be in it. So some people had a full tank of gas, some people had very little. And I understand what you're supposed to do in that situation: run the car maybe 10 minutes an hour for warmth to charge up the cell phone, but not, drain all the gas. Is that about right?
That is exactly about right. And again, we also recommend that you stay in the car. And the only time we advise you to get out of the car is to double check your tailpipe to make sure that there's no debris, that there's no snow or ice blocking your tailpipe. For obvious safety reasons for carbon monoxide poisoning. But otherwise, we do recommend exactly what you said. You want to keep your car at a half a tank. Definitely no less than a quarter of a tank of gasoline, and run it only intermittently, 10 to 15 minutes absolutely tops, just to warm yourself, to use that opportunity to charge your battery. And then obviously, if you have less fuel, you have to do that a little bit differently so that you can conserve the gas that you have.
All right, I'm sure you have the world's best car trunk emergency kit. What's in it?
There's a lot of things in my emergency kit, Jeff, quite a few. So first and foremost, I'm trying not to move too much, would be flares, the triangular flares that you would put behind you should you become disabled on the roadways. This is obviously so other motorists can see you. So we recommend that you have a triangle or flares in your vehicle. I have flares also, again, just for visibility purposes, for safety, so that other motorists can see that you're not moving on the side of the road. In this instance, it was a little bit different because no one was moving and you weren't on the side of the road. You were actually in the non-moving traffic. But again, these are certainly two very important things to have in your emergency kit to start off with.
You know, one thing I see on lists like this that I do not normally carry, well, two parts, a shovel and also something for traction. If you're half off the road, you're in some ice, and I've heard sand. I've also heard kitty litter.
You're absolutely right, which is, guess what I have here, and I don't own a cat. So yes, actually kitty litter or sand are both good for traction. Should you become stuck on a patch of ice in the snow, what have you, kitty litter or sand will certainly do the trick to help you gain some traction and to become where you can actually move. The shovel you mentioned, I have one here. It's a little foldable shovel, but to help dig you out, again, should you be stuck. So again, things that you don't necessarily think you need, but that you certainly could possibly need. A lot of these things are in my little AAA overall kit here.
That's not the most impressive shovel I've ever seen, but we'll give you a pass on that.
We'll give me a pass on that shovel. I know there are some more sturdy ones, but that one's a little foldable, a little flexible, good enough, right? But I agree with you that it's probably not the biggest shovel you're going to see, Jeff.
Regina, let me ask you about the thing that everybody's thinking that probably is not in the AAA guide for this. If you're stuck for an hour, that's one thing. If you're stuck for 24 hours, especially if you have kids in the car, somebody's going to need to go to the bathroom. And I don't know that there's a AAA emergency spot-a-pot thing, but. Don't quote me on this, but I can tell you an old story that involves the Nevada desert and a styrofoam cooler that was put to a purpose for which it was not designed. But especially if you have kids in the car, you need to think about that a little bit.
You're absolutely right. It's a long time to be stuck in the car. You're absolutely right. So perhaps you'll have an empty cup or something like that. That's not a bad idea. I also, we don't usually say this at AAA. Well, actually we do. We say to have wipes, but I carry wipes even lately, especially with COVID. If I'm on a road trip, sometimes you'll stop at a rest stop and there may or may not be toilet paper. So I make it a practice to have my husband, daughter, to take wipes, to take extra toilet paper. We pack it in a little bag and you have it just in case. But certainly that would have come in handy as well. As motorists were stuck on the side of the road for hours and hours, especially if you have little kids that when they have to go, right?
More and more people driving fully electric vehicles these days, and that trend is going to continue. Do you think differently about a snowstorm or winter driving if you're in a Tesla?
I think I would. I think I certainly would. It's funny you say that because my husband's looking at some electric options. And I say to him, what would have happened if you're in a Tesla, if you're in, an electric vehicle and you're stuck in the storm? Certainly a lot different than having a regular engine under these sets of circumstances. I think we all want to go green to some extent, preserve our air quality and reduce pollution and carbon emissions. That being said, something like this certainly makes you think because obviously you're not going to have as much utility or capacity as far as how far you can travel with an electric vehicle versus one that runs on gasoline. So certainly something to think about. I don't know, it's interesting. I think another interesting point too, as we talk about that a little bit, was with people traveling far distances. So this event occurred right on the heels of a holiday weekend where many people may have been coming from destinations that were perhaps warmer. I know that it had been mild here leading up to this storm. So again, it's really important. We're really focusing on the emergency road kits and also sort of the importance of planning. If you're driving far distances, you may know what the weather is like where you are. You may know what the traffic conditions are where you are, but to maybe even look much further ahead and see sort of what the weather is like as you're traveling along your route, what the weather is expected to be, what the traffic may be like, just to hopefully help you prepare as best as you can, right?
All good advice. Regina Ali of AAA, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great night.
And that is Direct Connection for this week. We're back Friday with State Circle and the latest on Maryland politics, including the beginning of the new legislative session. Thanks for watching tonight. Have a good night.
Your health segments are a co-production of Maryland Public Television and the University of Maryland Medical System.
This program was made by MPT to serve all of our diverse communities.